Oh no, he did it again. Thank you, Jenny.
Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Hope you guys have had a good day. It's been a long one for us.
It's been a long one, but we had some really interesting people today, very good friends, so that makes it better.
It is. It's always wonderful to interact with light workers, star seeds, and to see growth.
I love seeing growth.
We had one gentleman that we had worked on before, and after working on him, everything's changed for him.
Oh yeah, I mean everything's falling into alignment because that's what it's about. You realign those energies, and I am trying to figure out how I'm going to draw that on the board because I want you guys to see what I see when I work on someone and experience that. I thought it would be a fun video.
Yeah, and in case you've never checked out before we get going with the video, or you're new to the channel, you might be like, what are they talking about?
Yeah. What?
Check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com and see what we do. And, since I started working on people, and now Cindy's joined me, I probably worked on people energetically, thousands of different people, pretty much every continent but Antarctica. Have not worked on anybody in any of the secret bases in Antarctica. I will admit that. I haven't done that. I haven't, but yeah, Australia, Asia, North, South America, Europe, Africa, all the rest. We've done energy work on people, spiritual coaching, Vedic charts, you name it.
Yep, and it's wonderful to see people grow.
Ordo ab chaos is the Freemasons' motto: order out of chaos. You know who is creating the chaos, so it can pose its definition of Orwellian order with public approval. I don't think they get that much public approval anymore, but it's still happening. How many of you guys remember this speech?
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge.
Yes. Okay, so, the first GWB, and on the right side, and then today, here we are, today.
An inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people died, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is the time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead.
There you go. You just said it again. They love to say it. They love to put it in our face.
Yes, they do. That's really important that they get it out there and just tell us what they're doing. So in their world, that says that we are given the choice to go along with it.
It was hitting me today before we were starting this video, and after talking to everybody that has the same frustrations with the system, what can we possibly do to get things done in short order so that we didn't have the same sort of thing happen in 2024? How do we shift? How do we really change the system? It seems like all we could really do is try to make the system obsolete by trying to get outside of the system. If you haven't filed your taxes, or if you have, you might have noticed that, we had one person telling us today they're going to have to go in, to verify that they're them. We know that they're bringing in facial recognition. We know number 46 here, one of the first things he did is he had plans, and I'm not sure how many people they've been able to hire, but to double the size of the IRS, to double the collection agency. Every year we see record taxes collected. We see the billionaire class just going through the stratosphere, and everybody else going in the opposite direction economically. How can we change this when we know what they're doing? We got to get out of the system. And how are we going to do that? I don't have the answer. All I could say is try to be as self-sufficient as possible. Keep putting your intentions out. Keep waking people up. Take the time to try to wake up as many people, whatever that looks like, sharing videos like this and other channels like ours while we're still able to talk.
That's really a key word there, while we're still able to talk, because I tell you, it's been a struggle getting stuff up and keeping it up.
Yeah. I mean, there's videos that get taken down every single day. And we had one person, because I made the comment that we got from people a person in the know, and this person's really in the know. This person is very, very high ranking and is the type of person that is privy to information that only the upper echelons get. That, many of these channels are compromised. And so one person was freaking out saying, how could you say this channel's compromised? They're compromised. It's just a matter of looking a little deeper. You can see they're trying to buy out and take over every single outlet as far as free speech. It's just part of the program. It's part of that new world order they keep shoving down our throats. Well, keep an eye out for the weather if you are in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and that's going to start moving eastward. As we have severe thunderstorms, we have millions at risk for tornadoes, and you can see the bullseye that's painted right here. And in fact, there have been tornadoes that have caused damage. Here you see tornadoes southeast of Bowie, Texas, crossing the road up ahead. And here you can see one crossing over I-35, Round Rock, with a packed interstate. That's not a good thing, especially when we're talking, still around rush hour time. Look at that. Tornadoes are scary. They are scary. Yeah, had one pass maybe 100, 150 yards up the street from me once when I was in my car. That was definitely a, say your prayers moment.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
So yeah, take shelter, be aware. Oklahoma City, fire officials respond to over 52 fires over the weekend. When we look at the drought, and when I looked at the map that I'm going to show you guys in a second, it surprised me how bad it's gotten in Texas. And again, we know that there is that geoengineering that happens. And talking to a New Mexican native when we were out in New Mexico, he basically said he remembers the way it was in the old days. Now he's like, I could sense rain's going to come next day, and then all of a sudden the skies are just plastered with gook, and the rain never comes. What's it doing? It's causing all sorts of chaos. And again, order out of chaos. It's the motto. Absolutely. So, severe drought, Dust Bowl conditions, they are definitely worsening. Winter wheat harvest is in jeopardy. Food prices in the U.S. have been soaring, and now we're on track for an absolutely horrible winter wheat harvest. And again, David, Adapt 2030, has been talking about this. And I know he's working his butt off being prepared. I mean, he brings things in by the barrel. He's is definitely one that understands the bigger picture.
Everybody has to do whatever they can do for each other, even if that's just getting to know your neighbors, because later on there might be a time when you should have conversations with them where you guys can help each other.
This all happens when we have a war going on in an area that's known as a breadbasket. Of course. Yeah, and that's obviously going to reduce wheat exports and just the amount that's even grown over there. And over the last 12 months, the price of wheat has risen 69%, and this crisis threatens to go to an entirely new level again. From what we're getting, it's more like, you might not see anything now, but wait till fall and next winter, and it's going to be very, very challenging. Due to extreme drought, winter wheat's in very bad shape in states like Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. The following comes from one of the most prominent agricultural websites in the entire country. Some farmers in southwestern Kansas, a top U.S. wheat-producing state, have not received much measurable rain or snow since October. Winter wheats planted in autumn lays dormant in winter and begins sending up green shoots in the spring. Proper soil moisture is critical at this stage for the crop to survive. More than half of Kansas was classified as under severe drought or worse. As of March 8th, the driest conditions since 2018, according to the National Drought Mitigation Center. Severe drought is also covering 3/4 of Oklahoma and 2/3 of Texas, both of which are also large wheat producers. And it sounds really bad because it is really bad. Farmers are praying for rain because they desperately need it. And this also gets into everything going on over in Ukraine and exactly what it's done. Ukraine produced 49.6% of global sunflower oil, 10% of global wheat, 12.6% global barley, and 15.3% of global maize. And you're going to be taking so much of that, it's just gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, something that we really need to keep an eye on here.
Again, this is part of, you got to get as self-sufficient as you can. And we have quite a few people that we know that have done things like make their own, irrigation systems. People in apartments that are doing hydroponics. Mm-hmm. We just got some 3-tier baskets that I'll put into the studs. We only have 3 windows basically that can be of use in the house as far as growing stuff inside the house, where you can keep it all year round. But I got these tri-level baskets that I'm going to be growing stuff in front of the windows, and to take advantage of that, because again, we do have like 25 or 30 grow lights, but when the electricity keeps going up, are you going to be able to afford to use the grow lights?
I know, we got to think about these things and their domino effects too.
Absolutely, it's a mess. So this is the map, and you could see, kind of shocking to me to see, how bad it's gotten in Texas. It feels pretty quick. And when you look at the red down here in Louisiana, this is usually a really waterlogged area. I mean, tons of rain. But you can see it's actually wrapping around in even some areas in the Carolinas. But, the darkest patches up here in Oklahoma, of course, out there in Nevada, where there's not much out there anyway. Yeah, as far as, growing zones, very challenging. We know that firsthand. You can see up in Oregon, you can see up through Montana. It's getting much more challenging. And this makes it even more challenging as far as the food supply. Remember, we were talking about the bird flu. Over 12 million chickens and turkeys have been culled now in the second month of America's horrific bird flu pandemic. 12 million, that really quick. Yeah, we had reports of what state was that? Was that California?
Can't remember, but it was $9 for
$9 for a dozen eggs. Yeah. Somebody had told us today that they encountered, I want to say it was somewhere in California, because I think we were talking about gas that was just under $7. Mm-hmm. If it isn't there yet, it's going to be heading up that way. And then what's scary is so many of the people we know, we have a few family members that have really nice, productive farms, and they have tons of birds. And what if you get that knock on the door and they tell you to cull your birds, and you make most of your money selling eggs?
Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, these are the situations where if you know people that might be facing a sort of struggle energetically, definitely send them your light and help them stay protected. We need to stick together in different ways now.
They're going to end up culling over 5 million chickens in Iowa alone. This is growing so fast. It's just, it would be shocking if it wasn't, these times. Right. And then we have this professor, an economics professor, has a solution for the little people dealing with the country's inflationary woes. Use mass transportation, eat more veggies instead of meat, and cut back on unnecessary care for your pets. Really? I don't know. Our pets are our family. Yeah. We would do anything for our pets like we would do for children. That's just us. And I know so many of you guys are like that. So she says, this is Teresa Gillarducci, and she says these tips are a good idea for anybody making less than $280,000 per year. When we get to the point where people making less than $280,000 a year are thought to be, in a bracket that you got to be very, very careful. If you make like $250,000, $250,000, and you're going to have problems coping, there's something wrong with this picture. I mean, I know both of my parents, neither one of them ever made more than $20,000 in their entire lives. Because money was never a priority. It was more just about emotional security. They were great parents. Very, very loving. Never a fight between them. I was blessed. I was blessed.
I know. I mean, a lot of people are going to have to reconsider the way they do things coming up shortly. But it seems like those entities who remain in certain families, they're always okay no matter what. That's just so strange.
Yeah, mass transit fares are only up 8%, 38% increase for gas. And don't think about getting a new car. Prices for brand new vehicles are up 12%. Those for used cars have gone up 40%. When it comes to food, the professor says, don't be afraid to explore. This means going for tasty meat substitutes. Well, those meat substitutes are not cheap. I've seen them in the stores, and they tend to cost as much as chicken or turkey, basically. And who knows what's in them? That's the thing, because you want to eat whole foods. You don't want to eat processed foods. Avoid the processed foods as much as possible. Now, we do put a lot of stock in things that are long-term, like lentils and beans and rice. And, today, our first meal, we'll have 2 meals today. Many days we'll just have one, and we'll have some fresh juice. But our first meal was basically steel-cut oats, just with some butter and a little no sugar added strawberry preserves. And, things that'll last a long time that we are making use, and again, people should make use and rotate whatever you have stored up. Make sure you're rotating. Make sure you're checking your dates, using the stuff that's going to expire the quickest. And, be prepared, because it looks like things are going to get pretty intense out there. Now, of course, if you're in maybe her category, maybe you're making, $500,000 a year, then maybe you get to have a steak if you're a meat eater.
Right. That you get that special treatment.
Do you know one of the top Google searches as far as that people were doing it, as far as increases in people searching for something, was bugs as a food supply?
Yeah.
And what was it about mealworms? It was.
they'd already approved it FDA approved it for somewhere for mealworms to be fed to people or something.
Yeah. Well, this is part of that new world order, where, if you're one of the young leaders of that WEF Klaus Schwab, you're never going to have to eat mealworms,
right,
like the rest of the population. Yeah. So take the bus. Don't buy in bulk. What? Try lentils instead of meat. Nobody said this is going to be fun. Yeah, because there was also insinuation that, if in case you don't know, there were laws put into effect in World War II where you could not hoard. So if you are well stocked, like many people, maybe you have years worth of food, it could be confiscated. And just saying, I know I could hear the comments now, the typical comments, but yeah, this is part of a long-term plan here. And when you look at take the bus, take mass transit, well, there's not really much mass transit where we are. There's none out in, there's not too much out in many suburban areas, and certainly not in the rural areas. So this is part of that herd them into the mega cities. Yeah, gather them all in these mega cities where they have everything they need. They don't need a vehicle. They rely on, eventually, they're going to be relying on the state for their universal basic income, their health coverage, for everything, their transportation. Just rely on good old Big Brother.
Right. And they're going to own nothing and be happy.
They've already told us they don't pull punches. They tell us right to the face. It's right there. That quake we saw in Japan, the 7.3, it did do quite a bit of damage. We're going to share some pictures with you guys. Look at the cracks in the road. The roof on that store. Knocked out power lines as well. It looks pretty ominous. Made a mess of that house. So it was actually a pretty powerful quake that did a lot of damage. Didn't really hear a ton about it though. I mean, we called on it and talked to you guys about it when it first happened. So you could see a bullet train here was derailed. Japan, of course, is not a stranger to big quakes, but this area is. As you look over off the west coast of Norway and to the northeast of Scotland, here we have a 5.2, 10 kilometers deep. That's kind of rare. The biggest one ever in this area, I think, was 6.8, I want to say. So this is in the Norwegian Sea. And it actually shook houses in parts of Britain, causing houses to rattle. And we do have an intense earthquake swarm under São Jorge volcano in the Azores. And the last time this had erupted in this area was 1808, so it's been a while. And this is an intense swarm going on, so we'll have to look, and possibility there of more eruptions. If it's, an above water eruption, hopefully it won't be anything like Tonga. Tonga was insane, really. But again, this is pretty close to the equator, so that's where the most cooling damage could be done. Almost unbelievable DNA modification system discovered in animals. And DNA, again, epigenetics. It's programming. DNA is programming. And we can change our DNA, literally. And the other thing that people don't tend to realize is the DNA is not just in the physical body.
No, it's not. There's another layer of DNA. Our physical body, we have our basic senses, taste, touch, smell, here. But what's coming online is our secondary body, our energy body that's in the ether. It's becoming more sensitive as well. I'm sure many of you have noticed that our bodies, our senses, were becoming more and more sensitive. And much of this is due to our energy body also coming online, bringing in these new senses. So this is something that they did want me to mention, to just tell people this is what you can expect, because we have layers to our body, and these layers are reaching out and bringing in more information. And I did sort of touch on it the other day. People are probably getting a lot of sensory overload, and this is causing anxiety. And this is where it helps to learn to meditate, do mantras, do something quiet that helps quiet your mind. That might be even just loving on your pets. That might look like gardening, just something to allow the energies to permeate and simply be and do what they need to do.
Yeah, as you can see, there's many different layers. You have the physical body itself. That's just the central, most dense, slowest vibrationally moving body. But we also have the etheric. We have the etheric template. So when conception happens, there is, again, a template. It's just like having a drawing, like you're going to build a home. Well, you need plans to know, how are you going to do it? What you're going to put where? This is the same thing. This template is what guides the actual physical body's building process. And so we are, again, every one of these layers is also a different frequency, and that's part of how we are multidimensional beings. And so, modern science, a lot of stuff is hidden on purpose. DNA, it holds the blueprint to build your body, but it's a living document. Adjustments to the design can be made by epigenetic marks. Cataloging these marks and how they work is important for understanding biology and genetics. And this gets into that. And so, they've been discovering things just to show how really incredible, but yet that intelligent design, this is not an accident. There's no way this is an accident. And you could say, people use the terms all the time, my maker, but what if you are your maker? The higher self, making a vehicle for itself.
Right. These are all things that are coming to us these days and helping us, bringing us a greater understanding of what we are about. What is our soul about? What is our center? Where am I from? Where am I going? A lot of this information moving back and forth.
Yeah. So, scientific statement here, it's like magic.
Yeah, it is.
It's because there's intelligent design. And when we look at these different layers and looking at it from this point of view, the system is basically top down. It's not bottom up. And there was another article last week I was reading, and they were talking about how they understand now what happens to the brain at the moment of death, but they still don't get the bigger picture. They don't understand that consciousness is not because of the brain. The entire body is because of consciousness. As Tesla and Einstein both spoke of, you can't go before consciousness. Consciousness comes first. Everything else comes later.
Well, our bodies, we are just basically one big receiver, and we are reacting to that in which is around us. And it's definitely information that not too many people are really ready for, but it is happening. And, when they were telling me about our energy bodies coming online, the etheric, the emotional, and the mental, these first layers, those are the ones who are gaining more information into the DNA, which your body is somehow processing. And a lot of people can get that sensory overload in the body. The anxiety comes because it's a lot of information. If we don't know how to process it, or if we're not processing it because we're really busy at work, because there's a lot of chaos going on around the world, then it's going to bring anxiety up.
Absolutely. And so the real us extends on out in many different densities. And we can shift our perception. And that's part of what's going on right now, is a shift in perception. Waking up and recognizing, that it's not what we're being told at all. It's not what we're being told at all. Here we've been, hammered into our minds concepts like original sin. Yeah, because your ancestor ate an apple, you're cursed. It's just like waking up and recognizing, mom and dad are Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. It's a stage, step-by-step awakening, recognizing that we've been totally deceived. We are actually much more incredible beings than we realize. And the powers that be don't want you knowing that none of us need them. They want to be as important as they possibly can be. But the reality is we're waking up and we're learning that, you know what? We don't need you. We don't need your system. We can do things much better on our own. In fact, you guys that have been running the show, you kind of suck.
They do a really good job at hiding a lot of information from us, like, how our bodies are so miraculous, and they have these healing modalities built right in. And one of the simplest things you can start with is, a simple intermittent fast in the daytime. That right there, that one single act helps the cells clean house and renew themselves.
Absolutely. So, I mean, everything from the food pyramid, make sure you have your 3 square meals a day, maybe a couple snacks in between. Well, if you're taking in food constantly, especially processed food, in these times, with everything that's going on in the world, the chances of developing cancer and having it run rampant are extremely high. Extremely high. It's when your body has no protein available to use that it starts breaking down the tissues that are abnormal. And that's just a natural way of doing things. In nature, we didn't always have food available. And we go back to being hunter-gatherers, and we might feast one day, we might not eat at all the next day, and you know what? We'd survive just fine. It's all the simple sugars that feed cancer, for instance. And I'm bringing this up because we're talking to another family member. We have many family members that are nurses and doctors, and they're seeing cases of cancer going through the roof. I mean, just skyrocketing. And it happens to coincide with a certain something that some people got and other people didn't get, if you know what we mean. Again, when the body's immune system's breaking down, when we're too acidic, you gotta watch your alkaline acid balance in your body as well. If you're eating simple sugars, processed foods, you're going to be very, very acidic, and that is, again, another area where cancer proliferates. So you want to, make sure you're trying to make your body more alkaline and eliminate the processed foods, eat real foods, eat as organic as possible, and give your body time to rest to get rid of all the toxins. So important. Even things like hot baths, saunas, great way to detox.
Very, very good ways of detoxing. And we should just do a whole nother video on it. I think people are ready. Last time we kind of got in trouble when we mentioned about fasting, but I think it's a good time to put it back up there about how to get your body on the right track. And we do want to say a huge thank you to our Patreon family members. We couldn't do it without you. And then we have Ko-Fi, where you could give a one-time support for the family, or you can do monthly, and you push the little the minus and the positive to buy extra coffees. So that's how that works. And then medicinal foods, such a huge blessing, because awakening starts within, and these guys have the best website, information, and food that we have found out there.
Yes, make sure you use coupon code EEA and you get a discount. It does support the channel as well. As always, guys, be prepared. Keep putting the positive vibes out. Keep waking up as many as possible. We got to hit that critical mass where, we say to the system, we don't need you anymore. Bye-bye. Sayonara.
Yes. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.